Hello, welcome to my channel. I'm the Recipe Rater, where I rate other people's recipes to let you know if they're any good or not. So I have kind of a funny story. So I have here a bag of tortellini from Great Value, aka Walmart. My wife and I like to do some online grocery shopping, and after going to like 3 or 4 different stores, Walmart was our last one, and we got all the stuff that we needed unloaded, and then all of a sudden I see this bag of tortellini, and tortellini is not normally something we eat in our household, so I had to ask my wife, honey, did you order tortellini? And she kind of has like this, no, kind of tone. So either Walmart decided to gift that to us, because once in a while they give us stuff like oranges and sometimes toothpaste as a way of saying thank you for being a good customer, or they just messed up and gave us that bag accidentally. Either way, too late now. My wife sent me like 4 or 5 different recipes to try to use as tortellini, and the one that we're going to be doing today is the one I thought would be the most scrumptious. So here we have some sirloin steak that's been thinly sliced from the good people of Aldi, and we're going to make a Philly cheesesteak tortellini. There is a group called Easy Recipes from Facebook that my wife sent me, so this will be a Things That My Wife Sent Me playlist video. Anyway, I'm going to, in a minute, chop up this steak and the vegetables, and we'll do more here in a minute. So, the main aspect of this recipe is going to be simple. We are going to be recreating the Philly cheesesteak-like experience with this. At the moment, I have a pot on the stove that is in the process of getting me some boiled water that I can use for the tortellini. But in the meantime, I can get these vegetables chopped up. I want to have a nice Philly cheesesteak style texture, and normally, oh, my bad, always take the sticker off when you before you chop. Anyway, I want to have nice strips, because when people eat Philly cheesesteak sandwiches, they usually have strips of the vegetable with the onion and the green pepper. I already have an onion chopped up, I realized earlier, so I'm just going to use that and not waste another onion. But I also wanted to add, even though the recipe doesn't call for it, some mushrooms. I figured the mushrooms would be a nice complement to the other stuff that we're going to be adding soon. Now, the one other thing I'm going to say before we move on to the next part of the video is the fact that I'm not going to completely cook the tortellini, even though the recipe says for me to cook it like the package, because of 2 reasons. One, because I have a slightly bigger bag than what they said. In their recipe, it says 20 ounce. I have a 32 ounce bag, so I'm not going to cook all this tortellini. That'd be too much. The other reason is I don't want the tortellini to get soggy. The tortellini I've only eaten like once or twice in general, not this brand necessarily, but I've eaten tortellini in general. And let me tell you, if it is not cooked properly, it is gross. It will be mushy and soggy if you cook it for too long. So I'm not going to cook it 100% all the way through in the boiling water I've got going right now. Instead, I'm going to cook it partly through to where I feel like it's not frozen anymore, but at the same time, it's got enough of an al dente texture to where it can cook a little bit in my provolone cheese sauce that I'll be doing later. Alright, water is just very close to being boiled, so took the liberty of chopping other stuff. And now we're going to do the steak. And then we're going to get everything together. I'm going to have the tortellini boil for a couple of minutes. And then this is going to pan fry. Nice strips of sirloin steak. It's going to be delicious, I think. I took the liberty of adding some garlic cloves that my son chopped up earlier, and got some virgin olive oil in there. That was part of the recipe. And now I got with my handy-dandy stainless steel pot, I'm about to put some of the tortellini inside. The beauty about this thing, I got it at my local Aldi as well, is this thing, when you lift up that top handle, it will drain out the water. So I don't have to have another colander because it's already built in there. Isn't that great? I'm just doing this by the handful, and I'm trying not to drop it too hard so I don't get boiling water on me, because that would be a really bad idea. I'm also going to use my spatula here in a minute to mix up these a little bit so that it does not, it does not clump up at all. So I got most of the bag in there, but again, like I said, she was talking about a 20-ounce bag in her recipe. This is a 32-ounce, so I am going to make sure that, or sorry, 36-ounce. Anyway, I'm going to make sure that this doesn't clump up and that these turn out great and not mushy. And pretty soon I'm going to add some steak and some vegetables to the pan. Alright, got the steak. I seasoned it with some salt and pepper, simply put. These nice strips of steak will go great with the tortellini. I did not do cubes. I could have done cubes. Oops, I forgot one piece. There we go. Much better. I could have cut this in cubes, but I figured it's got to have like a nice long piece texture, kind of similar to like what you do for fajitas. You know, kind of like a fajita bowl, but obviously this isn't fajitas. You get my drift though. And once this is done, interesting how they're starting to float up to the surface, I'm going to drain this out and cast this up the side. And then I'm going to get my provolone cheese sauce going. And then once these pieces, along with my vegetables, are done, I am going to combine everything together. So I just need to get my vegetables in here. With a little bit more steak. It's gonna be good. It's gonna be delicious. I'm gonna get these vegetables fried though. There we go. That's gonna be good. I'm gonna cover this and we'll get back to it once it's more tender. Now it said shredded provolone cheese, but I didn't see shredded at my local grocery store, so I'm gonna do like slices that I'm gonna break up into little pieces. It's basically all going to melt in here anyway, so it doesn't really matter, just as long as it's got a nice creamy sauce I can put on top of the steak and the vegetables and the tortellini. I got the Philly cheesesteak stuff practically ready. So instead of taking this out, like it said, everything's got to be combined together anyway. So I'm going to mix this in here, and you know what? I am glad I did it this way because I feel like if I had this whole plate, it might be too much. So I'm going to do it like that. And I've also got my provolone sauce. Again, we have to do it based on feeling. Sometimes recipes say a little too much and not enough, depending on the consistency. That's why you got to adapt and make certain foods your own. And that's what I'm doing right here. I'm going to slowly add more of this and combine it all together, and I will show you what it will look like once this is done. I think I've got everything cooked in here long enough, because again, I don't want this tortellini to get mushy. Tortellini can be good as long as it's not overcooked. Otherwise, it tastes mushy and gross if it's overcooked. You know, it's the ugly cousin of ravioli for a reason. But I mean, like I said, my wife gave me this recipe when we got the bag by accident, and I think this has some real good potential. I'm excited to try it. Let's take a look right now. Gonna get a little bit of the tortellini itself. So it's got the chewy texture, but not too chewy. It's not overly soft, like I was hoping for. Now I get a little bit of steak. Yep, you definitely need to stick with this. That is a great combination because the cheese sauce, it complements the inner filling of this cheese tortellini, honestly. I actually really like this. I really like this. This is good. Yeah. I'm grateful that my wife sent me this. It's kind of a blessed happenstance that we got the tortellini by accident. I actually give this a 5 out of 5. I really like this. I'll see what my family thinks later when they dish up, but otherwise, that's the Recipe Raider. Thanks for watching.